is intended for mature audiences. The views and opinions expressed are those of the panelists and do not reflect in any way those of the podcast partners, sponsors, or affiliates. Enjoy.
Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and you're listening to the Voice of the People. Let's get ready for Boxing Voice.
Sky's the limit, baby.
BoxingVoice.com.
We don't fight for rings and stuff like that. I don't fear anyone.
En este deporte no se viene a jugar y no le tengo miedo a nadie.
You don't come to play in this sport. I fear no one in this sport.
Does that mean that you will fight Triple G later this year?
Como lo dije en la pelea pasada, ahorita mismo me vuelvo a poner los guantes.
As I said in the last fight, right now I'll put on the gloves again.
¡Viva México!
Canelo wants to unify all the titles.
When did you realize, Andy, that you could take his power?
Because of the Mexican warrior that I am, I got that Mexican blood in me, so talking about the Mexican style, I just proved it.
BoxingVoice.com.
Ain't no other fight in the game to see the Boxing Voice.
Good morning, TBV. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another morning edition of the Boxing Voice. I am your host, Nestor Gibbs, and we definitely put it in work. Good morning, good Saturday morning, good fights yesterday, both on SoulBox and Dazn. But today we're actually here to report on something that I seen in the Sun. So we will be taking it with a grain of salt because of the source, but nonetheless, it's a good matchup in my opinion, and I figured if we talked about it, maybe the powers that be can hear your take and understand that we think this is a good fight. Andy Ruiz Jr. versus King Kong Ortiz. Those are the rumors, and I want to know, do you like this fight? That is the question. Do you like this matchup? Now, keep in mind, we could have got Andy Ruiz versus Dillian Whyte. According to Dillian Whyte, Ruiz didn't want the smoke. According to Ruiz, Dillian Whyte didn't want the smoke. They could not figure out a date. Do you like this fight just as much? I think I do. I think that it would be interesting to see how someone else who's considered elite does versus Luis Ortiz, since, only Deontay Wilder, who's considered elite, has faced him. So it would be good to get another guy in there who's quote-unquote on that level. Now, the question obviously is always going to be, is Ruiz still on that level? What weight he's going to come in at. I reached out to the trainer of Luis Ortiz, but looks like his phone is off. He might be in another country. I know he has a lot of fighters, so maybe he's training someone in another country. Maybe he has a fight somewhere. Maybe he's on a flight. But I did want to ask Herman his thoughts, because back in November, both Herman and Luis Ortiz have quotes in the media. If you just do a Google search, Andy Ruiz versus Luis Ortiz, plenty of quotes from both German Caicedo, his trainer, and obviously the trainer of Luis Ortiz, and plenty of quotes from Luis Ortiz himself saying that they would love the loser of Anthony Joshua versus Andy Ruiz too. So in this case, the loser is Andy. And this is an easy fight to make. If you think about it, from the outside looking in, they're two PBC fighters. They should be able to get this going on pretty soon. They both lost to heavyweight champions. Obviously, when Ruiz lost to AJ was not a champion, but still considered one, right? Because it was like righting the wrong. Was it a fluke? So, Herman is texting me. Oh shit! I thought he wasn't around because of the green text. When you got an iPhone and you text someone and it's green, they're either like phone off or like in another country. Sorry for the silence. I'm texting him. Is he busy this morning? Would love to ask you let's just say question. Let's do one, right? Set up. So yeah, man. I don't know. Look, people are saying big homie from the D saying Ruiz elite, and he got the thinking emoji. I mean, after that win, do you? I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm the only one that moved him up in the rankings after the win. It seems like everyone just said, let's leave him where he's at until he can prove that he can do it twice. And I get that way of thinking. But, yeah, I like Ortiz. I like what he did. And I think if you beat a unified champion, you should be able to, you should be able yeah, the radio ain't stopped. He said he's available. He said fire away, but I don't want to do a text. I want to do Showtime like Porter, you know what I'm saying? I want to get him on the Showtime right now on the show so that y'all can hear the answers and see what he thinks about that fight. And, maybe he slips up. Maybe he gives us something. Maybe he gives us something there. And he said give him 5 minutes. So, maybe he tells us something. Maybe he's heard something. Maybe he's heard something through the pipeline and whatnot. Man, Blog Talk sucks, bro. Blog Talk is down again. So my Skypers, I'm going to using that bat line to get in the trainer, Luis Ortiz, to ask a few questions. Blog Talk, I'm gonna log out of Blog Talk and try and do it again. They're out of control, man. But I get it. It's like I told y'all before. They sold their platform to Spreaker, and Spreaker's pushing everybody there. They don't really want anyone on here. I like it because of the call-in system so that, you guys could kind of listen to the show even if you're driving your car. You could just call in, put the phone down, let it come through the car speakers and whatnot. But Skype is always the preferred method, crystal clear quality and usually more reliable. Speaking of reliable, I think that Luis Ortiz is probably the most reliable out of the two. He's definitely ballooned in weight, but never really come in completely out of shape, right? Never really come in where we thought that his physique or weight would hinder his performance in any way. And on the other hand, we do have those doubts about Andy Ruiz, and we just don't know, in what shape he's gonna really come in, and is he gonna give it his all and really be on his best foot? I don't know. Interesting though. Lucky for us, another 5 more minutes of me rambling, and we'll be able to get German Caicedo on the trainer. He also trained Miguel Rivera. And I think he has Jamie. I don't even want to say how you pronounce his name. But yeah, man, I'm going to go ahead and open up the phone lines while we wait on Herman, just to kind of, move mosey things on along. And this won't be a long show. Like I said, just want to put it out there and see what you guys think. I like the matchup. And I figured if we did at least something on it, maybe the powers that be will stumble across it and realize this is a good matchup. This is something the fight fans would be interested in and wouldn't mind having. Once again, both these guys, have either only lost to champions, unless you don't want to look at it that way, because when Ruiz lost to Parker wasn't a champion, and when he lost to Joshua technically wasn't a champion, but, they were championship fights. So I look at it that way. But anyway.
These calls are brought to you by El Camino Electrical Services, experts in electric vehicle charging stations. For consultations and turnkey installation, visit us at elcaminoelectricalservices.com.
Remember to rate us 5 stars on iTunes.
All right. Let's go out to Boomerang.
You know how these bitches is in the sport. Total disrespect. Kid has no class, no style at all. I'm a gorilla, I'm a dog. I'm a dog, I'm a gorilla.
The smartest thing you can do is to stay away from there.
It can't be the boogeyman if I'm chasing him. You want to bet? You bet 100,000 on that. Let's bet $1 million. Easy. Let's bet $1 million.
Yo, good morning, Ness.
Good morning, champ.
Hey, I'm actually excited about it because that's a matchup I'll definitely pay a pay-per-view to see. I don't know if they're gonna do it, or maybe they're gonna put it on a good undercard or something. I don't know, but I would like to see the matchup. You got Ortiz, who only lost to Wilder, which is the best heavyweight in the division right now. And you got Ruiz that beat the supposedly guy that's just carrying the belts. And like I said, I see how you see it too. He lost to two guys that had something they name in the champion or something. So I'm definitely looking for the style matchup. They're similar in size. I think Ortiz might just be a tad bit bigger than him, a little bit. Yes.
He possibly is taller because me and Ortiz are pretty much the same height. I feel like he's taller than me in the pic. Let me see. Actually, I got the picture pulled up. Yeah, he's probably shorter than me by like an inch or two, or this picture that I took with him, we weren't exactly side by side. It feels like side by side though.
Right, but the matchup is still nice with Andy.
Yeah, with Andy
fast
because
hands.
Andy is a fake 6'2". Remember, he's like 6'2" on BoxRec, but then he's like 6 feet in the ring versus AJ. So
Right, but with his hand speed, not too quick feet, but he could still give Ortiz different looks. Ortiz has slow feet but good countering ability. Like I say, Ortiz arguably to me is the third best heavyweight. I when I ranked him on my list and stuff like that. So I'm still looking forward to see what the guy brings to the table. That's my first call.
for sure, brother. Let me see who we got. Who's next? Looking like Seattle, Washington.
Mr. PBC, baby.
BoxingVoice.com. I'm the flyest. Canelo talking about he believe he can win. Go to my kitchen. Get the sharpest knife and cut the bullshit out. I don't care what you do good. I do every fucking thing great.
Mr. PBC, baby.
Yo, what's good? TBV. What's good, Ness? Where's Mike?
You know Mike sleep, man.
Man, I can't believe my call got up this quick in the queue. I predicted this fight in the after show. Said Luis Ortiz and Andy Ruiz would be a really good fight. I mean, that'll be the first I've seen, with my own eyes, two Mexican heavyweights. Well, not Mexican, but Spanish descent, or, getting it at it. And I'm going with Andy Ruiz. I think that Luis Ortiz can't really handle too much of that boxing speed that Andy got somehow. I never seen anybody really throw a lot of hands at Luis Ortiz, so it'll be a good fight. Can't wait to watch it. And TVB for life.
For sure, champ. Have a good morning. We're going out to the 347, looking like New York City. First time caller, who's this?
Yo, this is Dom. What's up, guys?
Don?
Dom. What's going on, guys? Sorry, I'm at work. What's going on, guys?
DOM?
DOM.
And you in the BX?
Nah, I'm Staten Island.
Staten Island. SI, what up, brother? Talk to us. Good morning.
Yeah, Staten Island. I'm actually working at LaGuardia Airport right now. What's the topic? Ruiz,
Yes, Ruiz versus Luis Ortiz.
Right?
Yep.
Ruiz too fast for Ortiz. It's a good fight, but it don't go too long. Ruiz finishes him like 4th round, 5th round.
Wow, a lot of people believing in Ruiz's power, man.
I didn't, but after hearing a few people, I kind of started thinking about the hand speed too, and I think that messes up Ortiz. I'm a big Ortiz fan too, but at this age, nah.
Well, all right.
5 years ago, Ortiz.
Bet. Well, thank you for calling in, Dom, in Staten Island. We got you down, so definitely address you by name. We're going out to Josh, North Carolina.
What up, Ness? Hey, yo, Ness, before I get on this subject, hey, I want to ask you a question, bro. Yeah, I got on that ringer yesterday, man.
Okay.
How you going to set that up?
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
what's your name on Patreon?
Damn, I ain't put my name on there yet, man. I think I'm gonna have to make me an account, make my name up on there, but I'll do that ASAP.
Yeah, because I think I sent you a message asking you because I didn't know that was you.
Okay.
I don't know. Did you sign up as DRB?
I don't know exactly what I did, Ness. You know, I did what I was supposed to do, you know, and went through, but
Yeah, I just
I don't
need
know
your
if I skipped it.
name. That's all. Like whatever name you got over there, I need to, so we can verify as you, and then that's it.
All right, then I'll make sure I put Josh 704 on there.
I mean, you can also
but
just
yeah,
check
man,
your email. Your email should say whatever username you used, whatever the emails they
Okay.
sent you.
All right, I'll make sure I do that ASAP. But yeah, man, I like this style, this fight right here. I think Ortiz should give him, but this is a real good measuring stick how Ruiz would do. I like to see that fight. I favor Ortiz right now, but yeah, I like to see that. But yeah, I'm beginning up with you next for sure.
All right, brother. But just thank you once again personally for signing up to Patreon and supporting TBV, man. Without you guys, there is no us. Obviously, in order to do this 7 days a week, we're definitely going to need the support of the community. That being said, we're going out to Julio. Actually, sorry, Julio. It is, oh, wait. Okay, I think I know who that is. That's Jay in Orlando?
Yes, sir. What's up, family?
What up, champ?
It's been a minute.
Yeah,
It's been a
has.
minute. Yo,
I
it's
almost
been a
ain't,
minute
I,
with
I almost ain't know if you was Jay Will or Jay in Orlando. That's how long it's been.
nah, it's the one and the only, man. But you know what I'm saying? The Patreon never left. I still subscribe all the time. Make sure y'all log on, subscribe, get all the stuff, get all your questions in. Because even when I don't call in, I still, if it's a subject that I like, I still make sure that I get my topics in and I can ask. And just going on with that theme and that subject. With me calling in, that shows you everything that you need to know. That this has me intrigued. This has my ears. Steven Espinoza, this is the fight that you need to make. Your network is suffering right now. You need to get something that's going to drive the needle, and this will drive the needle. Trust me. I like the fight. I like the fight for both guys. I think it has more of an upside for Luis Ortiz because it keeps him at that top tier. Whereas though with Andy, if he beats Luis Ortiz, a lot of people are going to be like, Luis Ortiz is 40 years old, this, that. But it also keeps him at the top tier. But Luis Ortiz does.
Jay, looks like you muted yourself, champ. Jay, are you at work and you had to sneak off? Jay in Orlando, you muted yourself. All right, we're going to move on in the meantime. Oh, there you go.
Yo.
Yes.
My bad. I don't know what happened. That was weird. I ain't even mute myself.
No face on the phone?
My bad, Ness.
Okay.
Ness.
Okay. It was Jay Mack. All right, Mac, no problem. That was by mistake. Go ahead, Jay. Jay from Orlando, finish that up.
All right, yeah. What I was gonna say was, man, if you look at it from our perspective, you got to go ahead and make this fight because both these guys' names are losing their value. So you want to go ahead and add value to their names while they can. Andy Ruiz was never supposed to be some big megastar. He just got lucky and took advantage of the situation. So it's not like I know some people look at it as a cash out, but this is the time where you got to do that cash out for both of them while both of them still hot, man. That's my time, man. I appreciate you, man, and I look forward to that Wilder Fury too, man.
For sure, man. Thank you and appreciate you, obviously. You got a point though. Because he didn't prove it to the world that it wasn't a fluke. Time is ticking on the star power, and it's very much dependent on the next win. That being said, though, listen. They could be doing Andy a favor, right? Like maybe they're invested in Andy. If this fight does happen, I mean, Luis Ortiz is 40 years old or older, right? According to the haters. So, if you're Andy, you're younger. This guy's lost twice to Wilder by knockout, so there may be something, that's been taken from him. So Andy's probably being treated like an A-side here. He's definitely the A-side in the fight. Where would they put it? Lewis is Cuban. Should they go to Vegas? Only because Andy's, it's a big fight. They want to act like it's a big fight, so you take it to Vegas. Andy's from the West, so his people can easily access it. Do you go to Miami or Orlando? Capitalize off the Latinos there, but there's not that many Mexicans in Orlando, right? I mean, if you go to Miami, I guess you can do it off the sweat of Luis Ortiz back, but he hasn't proven to be this draw. Maybe New York City, Barclays, right? You bring out the East Coast, tri-state area Mexicans and Latinos. I think in the Barclays, this is a good fight. I've never the type to suggest California like that because I'm not a Californian, you know what I mean? I don't really know if these guys can sell out the Staples or something like that. It would take one of you California guys to be like, nah, we ain't coming out for this Cuban. Because that would be the only downside. I think that Andy would get some support for sure. So I just put out the post on Patreon for anyone that wants to ask Herman there a question. German Caicedo. I should be dipping out to get him so we could get this going on. Hold on a sec. All right, but in the meantime, let me get to Julio. Talk to me.
Good morning, Ness.
Buenos dias.
This fight is very it's a very interesting fight because if they do fight, I think that in California, how you were talking about what's stable with this fight actually make more sense. I think California would make more sense, especially not much like the Staples Center, but the StubHub. You know what I mean? I think that Andy Ruiz is even though he did lose and he didn't train as he was supposed to. I saw this interview with Eddie Reynosa yesterday in Spanish, and they asked him, "Will you be willing to train Andy Ruiz?" And he's like, "Well, if he comes to me," he said it in Spanish, and we come to agreement, I wouldn't mind training Andy Ruiz. And that interview came out yesterday on the when he was doing the Dazn interviews. So
that would be a good matchup together right there, bro. Andy and Renault, because look, he definitely got Ryan looking good.
That's my call. Thanks, Ness.
All right, brother Julio, man. Thanks for calling in. I just shout out another text to my man Caicedo, wondering if I should call now. He did say 5 minutes. In the meantime, though, we're gonna keep getting to these callers. You know the number 14255695241. Press 1 time. Voice shipping in right here. Voice of the People hotline. Listen. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button, man. Look, everybody isn't financially well off, so not everybody is a donator, but everybody could be a supporter of the show by just hitting that thumbs up. It should help us grow, and you could feel good in doing that and being a part of that growth, man. Keeping these interviews coming, ensuring that the show is big enough that these guys. Look, Andy responded, right? Like, wouldn't you guys love to talk to Andy? He actually didn't want to come on because he knew we was going to ask him about the Manny Robles shit. He like, honestly, I don't want to talk about the Robles shit. So, I'm trying to work him where he understands, look, whatever you don't want to talk about, we don't got to talk about, man. And it's like that. If AJ comes on here and is like, yo, I don't want to talk about the $50 million offer, I'm going to accept that because I want to get AJ on here, man. It's how it works. But we're going to go out to CK, Cincinnati.
What's up, man? This is a great topic, man. Great showdown between Andy Ruiz, Luis Ortiz. Man, we can't get Luis Ortiz in the ring with nobody, can we?
I mean, well, hopefully with this guy, right? All right, actually, keep talking because I'm going to cut you short as soon as I connect with the trainer. He's ready, but go ahead for your call.
Hey, man, well, you know how we do it, man. We going with Wilder with the knockout, man. But I want Andy Ruiz and Luis Ortiz to bang. I wanted the Dillian White Ortiz, but since I can't get that, I'll go with Andy Ruiz. And now I think the fight should happen in Cuba. What you think about Cuba and Dillian White's home country? You think that's a good spot? Yes.
All right. CK, I told you I was going to be in the background getting German Caicedo, so thank you, obviously, for holding me down. We're going to go out to the trainer of Luis Ortiz, German Caicedo, in Miami. How are you? First and foremost, good morning, and congratulations on a few of those wins you picked up. Oh, he said we disconnected. All right. See, this is when you need a co-host. All right. Are you there, Herman?
I'm here. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, I was giving you the introduction of the world, man. I even give you a few congratulations on some of those wins you picked up, man. You got a few very good up-and-coming fighters that we're definitely going to get to. But today's topic is we're discussing this rumor that's being, talked about. Andy Ruiz versus Luis Ortiz. It seems that allegedly, you don't have to confirm or deny because we can just talk the possibility of the fight. But allegedly, Ruiz has turned down a very lucrative U.S. fight versus Dillian White to turn around and fight Luis Ortiz. Now, I don't know if that's true. You can let us know if you're entitled to, if you're allowed to. If not, talk to me about the possibility of Luis versus Ruiz.
We would love to fight Ruiz. Obviously, Luis has never turned down any opponent, including Joshua, that they say that was, turned down. It was a non-offer ever from the start. So we've never turned down anybody. I don't know about the rumor. He turned him down to fight Luis, if that's what's happening. So I couldn't speak on what the Ruiz camp knows or doesn't know. As far as our handlers and Luis's management team and his promoters and Mr. Heyman and everyone, they know we want to fight anyone. So at this point, whatever name they say is who we're going to fight. I hear the same rumors that you're hearing, that it's a possibility that it's Andy Ruiz. But, nothing has been confirmed. And obviously, I didn't know that had happened, that he turned down Dillian White. So, who knows? I'm hoping it happens. I'm hoping, it can be that fight. The closer we are to another championship is something that Luis is still after, and still very, very, very hyped up to train every time. And he's been back in the gym already for close to a month or so. So it's not like he doesn't stay fit and in tune with his craft. So I'm hoping it does. I really do. I'd love to fight Andy and love to fight anybody that's of meaning. And I think Andy has that. He was the first guy to topple Joshua, so that means something.
As far as Andy, he's saying, look, Dillian wanted it in April. I needed it in June. If they contacted you guys and said, listen, we want to give you Ruiz in June, will you make Luis wait that long because of the opportunity, or would you say yes to the Ruiz but still try to get an in-between tune-up?
No, for Luis, the answer, two parts, right? So, no, we wouldn't wait. We would take the offer, obviously. And the second part is Luis doesn't need tune-ups anymore. He just needs fights. In our book, in Luis's book, he's 31-2 or 32-2. He has 30 tune-ups, so he's ready for the big fights. He's ready for the big names. He doesn't want any more meaningless names, and so no, he would. I know he would want to go right for the big names to try and get back to the top positions. Which is at this point Joshua.
Wilder and Fury play out the way it should, Wilder will win that fight, and then they'll probably unify, and then I see Wilder becoming the unified champion if that happens.
So are you comfortable in putting Ortiz in the ring with Ruiz without a tune-up because they're only a week apart in performances? Lewis last stepped in the ring November 23rd, 2019, and Andy last stepped in the ring December 7th, 2019. So is it because of that? Because it is 7 months. Like, if you guys have to fight in June, it's still 7 months out of the ring.
Yes, no, absolutely it is, and no, I didn't factor in, Lewis and Ruiz's last fight, only being a week apart. That's a good detail there. But no, I didn't even look at that. I obviously have input as far as how I feel about, the fight, my fight or Lewis, etc. But obviously his management team and Heyman and everyone that's higher up from where I am is the one who's going to ultimately decide. They've done a great job up to now of matching him and putting him in fights. I obviously would like Lewis to still be fighting twice a year, at this level. And if we can fight in June and then again in December, then that plays out, how we want twice a year. This particular scenario. He is an older fighter, so too much wear and tear is probably not the best for him also. But he stays very healthy. He stays in the gym. He's active. He doesn't live a bad lifestyle. Doesn't follow a bad lifestyle. He eats a clean diet constantly. He's always very hydrated. He's in the gym. So I can't speak the same for Ruiz, but just, the last performance and the last, how he looked. He's always, been a fat guy, but, the last one was just overboard. So, we might have that advantage going for us and not necessarily, needing to be in there in April rather than June. Although Ruiz can do what he does at the weight that he brings, no matter what weight he brings. So, maybe it just plays on and it's all even, all bets are even, So I don't mind. I don't mind that it's in June versus April,
Now, how do you think that Lewis would fare up with the hand speed, right? Like, before you came on, I obviously had to take some on-air calls from the public, and some people did give their opinion. Some people think that the hand speed might be a problem for Lewis at this age with those reflexes, and possibly Ruiz gets a stoppage on Lewis. Is there any universe where you could see the 6-foot Ruiz being able to do that type of damage? People want to believe he can replicate the AJ performance.
Lewis is not Joshua, start with that. Joshua's a punk. Lewis is not. And if you come at Lewis to fight, he's fighting back. Obviously, AJ didn't show that. He just quit on the first fight. And on the second fight, he ran for his life, with a whole country backing him, So that's to start with. Second, he's not faster than Wilder, and he had no problem with Wilder's hand speed. It was the damn right hand that you can't get around, and that's that, It's going to land. It's, if you got to avoid it for 12 full rounds, that's a very, very hard task. And he was doing fine, and he was actually even matching Wilder's hand speed, and Wilder's got faster hands than at least faster right hand than Andy Ruiz does. So no, I don't really worry too much about the hand speed. They're fast hands, but Lewis doesn't have slow hands either, and Lewis's reaction time, at all hasn't diminished. He showed that in the last fight. For the 7 rounds that he was winning every round and making Wilder miss almost every punch except the one that actually did the damage. Ruiz can't replicate that with Lewis. I don't think he can have that. I don't think he can replicate that again even with AJ. You know what I'm saying? I think that was a scenario that was, he went for it. AJ wasn't prepared for that fight. And then just, took advantage of AJ having no heart and just quit on him. But, I don't think you can do that with Lewis, because Lewis will run him into something before he even gets, into a position where he can hit him. And, then it's all bets are off. So everyone has always said, and tried and they'll keep doing it. I keep saying, aside from Wilder being the number one heavyweight, the number two is Luis Ortiz, point blank. And people not wanting to fight him is the reason why he's the number two heavyweight, and they don't want to fight him for different reasons before, but you have no reason not to fight him now. He's a name, he's a payday for anybody, and no one's stepping up there. Everyone's talking about fighting each other before they fight him. So, it's clear that now that he's the number two heavyweight in my book. Andy has to be number three for the simple reason that he beat AJ already. And then, you can go from there and line them up however you want. But I got no issue with Ruiz's hand speed and how they match up.
I wanted to get your thoughts on Coach Larry Wade and how you felt your fighter performed after using Larry Wade for strength and conditioning. Since you've been with Lewis for so long, you know how Ortiz responded on fight night, if it was in a good way or if he was overtrained or if he was stiffer or slower because of the muscle that he packed on. What do you believe? How do you feel your fighter looked in his last fight after switching strength and conditioning coaches and using Coach Larry Wade?
Well, strength and conditioning is a title that none of our, we don't have that in our team. So Larry wasn't a strength and conditioning coach because, Lewis doesn't do any weights or any strength part of it. The conditioning part was a twofold part that obviously different people, kind of factored in. Our entire team was myself, was Larry, Yuka, and of course his co-manager Javier. That was our team. That was our 4 team. And then obviously the chef and the cook and the nutritionist, et cetera, like that. But there is no strength coach because he doesn't do any kind of weights. It's all, calisthenic work and track work. So the track work that Larry did for Lewis, with Lewis, I believe made a huge difference. The conditioning work and the rehabilitative work that Yuka did, also from Vegas, Yuka Tovoli and Larry Wade, those were the 2 main guys. Without those 2 guys, I don't think Lewis makes it, obviously, into the fight as well as he looked and as good as he looked. I think they were fantastic. They both were instrumental in allowing me to play out what I needed to do, which was, implement the game plan, prepare for boxing, get the sparring in, etc. So I think it was a great team, a great camp. And I think the fight was playing out that way, and you could see that everything, played out that way. You just can't get around, like I said earlier, you can't get around that right hand. It's walking around. It's almost like, where they tell you, be careful, you're going to fall in that hole. There's a hole right there, you're going to step in there, you're going to step in dog crap right there, be careful. You're too careful, you're going to end up stepping in it, so you have to stay away from that right hand, and we know that because we fought him already, and he knows that the right hand is real. So you're in that position now where you're only worrying about the right hand. Well, guess what? You're going to get hit with the right hand when you're only worrying about that. So it was a scenario where that was a possibility where we were just really, really looking out for one punch, and it was clear in the game plan. It was clear in how he was, how he was doing. Then when he tried to relax, Wilder did a great job. You cannot say, anything but good things about Wilder because he did a great job of allowing Lewis to relax in that 6.5 to 7th round and allowing Lewis to relax and say, look, I'm not really going to hit you with this right hand, chill. And then he, switched the gear and threw it. And Lewis did not see the punch coming, but he thought it was a different punch that was coming. He thought it was the wild looping hook right hand that he throws, slappy right hand that he throws a lot. And it wasn't that. It was the picture-perfect right hand right on the forehead. And so, Lewis made the gesture for a defensive move for the Ranch, and the other one snuck right through the guard. So, you know, for us, it couldn't have been a more perfect scenario, more perfect camp. You know, there is absolutely no excuse. Lewis won't give you any excuse, and that's why I think it. You know, for him, Lewis, why he's as bothered as he is because he trained 1,000%. He was zero ailments, zero injuries. Weight was on point, which was never an issue, but it was more muscle, like you said, and a little bit more speed, and it was a perfect going into the fight, and then he still lost the fight, so that hurts. And then some fighters in the history of boxing, and some fighters in at high levels like that sometimes leave doors open for excuses because of the feeling you feel like this. It's like you don't want to feel like you did everything right and you still lost, because it sucks to lose no matter how. But if you have an excuse, I took it on 2 weeks' notice, I was injured, I was this, it can help make a fighter feel a little better about the loss. Lewis left no room for that. He said, I'm going in, I'm swinging, I'm fighting, I'm perfect. If I lose to the better fighter. And that's, he's owned up to that, and Wilder is the better fighter because he's winning. He's a champion, so he's proven it. And I don't see, Fury has a good chance, but I don't think he's going to win. But he has a good chance because he can do some of the things that Lewis can do with angles and pivots and movement, and he's almost 7 foot tall, so that creates the problem for Wilder. But I don't think he packs the same punch that Lewis does, so I don't think Wilder will respect him as much the second time around and might come at him a little harder, earlier. But yeah, all things being equal, I think Lewis was in perfect shape. There was no excuse. The camp was awesome. Larry was awesome. He was an awesome human being. And we're going to repeat that same scenario, whatever big fight we get as well.
That was going to be my second question. So just to reiterate, you will be using Larry moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Larry's, was fantastic, a real professional, which is what we like. Our team is very small, very tight knit. It's more family than team. And Larry, proved to be part of that, and like Yuka himself and guys, care even after the fight. Larry's maintained communication not only with Lewis but with myself and everyone else. And Yuka travels from Vegas to come down to Miami to work on Lewis physically and some of the rehabilitative, conditioning work that he needs to do to stay injury free. So who does that? You don't get a lot of people doing that after the fight. It's see you later, call me on the next one. So yeah, I think this team is a good team.
Perfect. And my next question is, in terms of this fight, since it's a rumor and you haven't heard anything official, but you guys like to say people don't want to fight Lewis, do you think Andy accepts it if this is if they offer it to him? You think he says yeah?
I think Andy, because of obviously his past, not really getting the great opportunities or capitalizing on some of the opportunities he got, and almost fearing like it was a done deal before the Joshua, fight. I don't think Andy's a fighter that's going to pass up any opportunity moving forward because he got a glimpse of what it was to be on the top, and obviously no one's not going to enjoy that if you're a fighter. And this is an opportunity to get back to the top. The only guy to topple Lewis is Deontay Wilder, and if you beat Lewis, you get back on that number 2 guy. Legitimate guy. So yeah, I don't see why he wouldn't do it. He's not, I don't think he's shown that he's been, ducking anyone in his past fights. He's even taking some underdog fights, I think. So, yeah, I don't see it being a factor for Andy. I don't know Andy, but I don't see it being a factor for him.
Cool. Switching topics completely, I'd like to talk about Jaime Abolera. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Abolera, yeah.
Abolera, all right. Yes, man. This is one of the 2 fighters that you have now that I want to talk about because if I'm correct, you also have Michelle Rivera? Or is it Miguel?
Michelle, yeah.
Okay, well, it is Michelle. I was nervous.
Michelle, yeah,
Okay.
Michelle Rivera.
Perfect. So obviously Rivera, super interested in, but we'll leave him for last. Obviously he's Dominican and he looked fantastic. Jaime, on the other hand, didn't look as good, but he got the win. This was a really tough fight for Jaime, bro.
Yeah.
What did you think?
Absolutely. I thought we won the fight by that same close margin, but I thought we did more of the damage in the middle rounds. We lost the first couple, maybe even the first 3 rounds, and then Jaime, who's a bit of a slow starter, so that's part of the reason why the first couple rounds weren't, in the way he wanted it. But from round 4 on, maybe even from round 3 on till about round 9, Jaime dominated with all the major power shots, with, the major exchanges. And there were exchanges throughout all of the 12 rounds. This kid, Jason, was never not in the fight. He was punching back every single round with Jaime. But the bigger punches and the bigger head snapping back shots were done by Jaime in all of the middle rounds, like 7, 8 rounds of that. And then round 10, was a close round for us not to have been stopped. I mean, it was a disastrous round, like round 12 was for us. Round 11, Jaime, round 11 was really round 12 for him. I mean, he just gave it all he had, and and won the fight. It was, I've been working with Jaime for a little under a year now. The same with Michelle. I got both guys together. They're managed and by a Panamanian manager, Carlos Gonzalez, out of Panama, and they're promoted by Samson, out of Samson Boxing. And I think the world of both of them. Obviously, the skill levels is different, and their styles are different. But Jaime's style is a very effective style. He just has to figure out how to be effective with it. He needs a little bit more head movement and work behind a steadier jab, and he uses his jab in spurts. And he doesn't, we'll figure it out, and he'll be better on the next fight. He's the number 1 contender now after this win. He was an eliminator for the WBA. So, I'm sure that will play out however it plays out, like number 1 positions do. That doesn't mean you're fighting for a title next, but at the very least, he's in the number 1 spot, and he's the man that's going to get the next shot, or the guy that gets the shot if anyone vacates the belt. It will be time. But I love both their styles, their training efforts, and Jaime's a true professional. Both those guys have committed to, living in the gym and living in the camp that we have for them. And, anybody that is willing to do that is going to usually come out on top and become champion. I mean, as far as from what I've seen, most of the champions that I've developed from scratch were living in my camp for, 4 and 5 years. Some even lost families, got divorces back home, because they just couldn't take it anymore, the wives and whatnot. So it's a lot of sacrifice, that being included, families have been lost, with that. But it's what you want to do. And at the end of the day, if you do that, you'll usually, if you have some skill and some talent, and both these kids do, you can make that the X factor when you're coming into the fight, that you're living, eating, sleeping, literally, professional boxing.
So that was going to be my next question. They live there in Miami.
Yeah, they both do. They both live in one of the dorms, and it's boxing 24/7. It's everything is scheduled for them. It's a mini camp. It's a mini camp 24/7 year round, so obviously, it's not the same camp like I did with Lewis in Vegas, because number 1, it's not necessary, but number 2, their budgets are way different. So I offer in my scenarios for up and coming fighters like this, I offer them a glimpse of what will be, one day. So both Lewis and all my fighters have always, known what it's like to be, sort of sequestered, living in the gym, just focusing on this. Every conversation they're having with you is about some kind of athletic, scenario. And when you go away to camp, sometimes some fighters can't hack, the 8 weeks you need to be, secluded that way and fall apart and take off or whatever it is. It's just human nature, if you're not used to it, especially American fighters. Some Latin American fighters and Russian fighters, and they came up that way. Cubans have zero problem with it because they're sequestered from little when they're put into these boxing schools. But some fighters don't have that opportunity and don't know that. So I offer that to them, and this is what these guys are doing, and they're one moved from Panama, he's living here, and the other one is from the Dominican Republic, and he's living here and away from family, friends, wives, children. So I expect great things.
And I'm assuming they're sparring together.
Yeah. They're sparring together and they're roommates.
Wow. Yeah, man. So obviously, I would like to talk about the other one, Michel Rivera. He looks really good on the other hand. Now, do you think he looks that good because he hasn't faced the Jason Velez just yet? Or was it just his night?
No, the last opponent that he fought even before this fight was a tough guy who just upset an Olympian. So even his last opponent, was a tough guy. I don't recall the guy's name, but I think it was George. I have to do some.
Fidel Maldonado Jr. was the last fight, and previous to that was
and before that,
Jose Luis Gallegos. I don't know.
Yeah, Gallegos.
Okay.
So that kid just upset an Olympian recently, like within a month ago or a month and a half ago. And that was a tough fight, and that made Michel work, the entire 8 rounds. And I think he got the stoppage late. In this particular fight, it was the same scenario. We got the stoppage in the last round, and the guy made Michel work. Michel was never in any danger, and this guy was supposed to be a tough guy, come forward, pressure, has roughed up and beat up some guys the same way, and especially young contenders. Michel's ability it's what's most impressive is his natural instincts. His natural ability is incredible. He really has natural skill. And then his fundamentals is where we're improving and we're getting better day by day. And again, I've been with him for less than a year, so it's an ongoing scenario, but they're both very receptive to the information that they're trying to become the elite champions or the 12-round fighters. That's what you got to train for. You don't train for 6 or 8 or 10 rounds. You got to train for 12 rounds and learn how to fight as a 12-round fighter. And they're both learning that, but different styles. They've all been compared, to Jamie's been compared a little bit to like Dad with his combination punches and his fundamentals is very sharp. He's got to work a little bit more on head movement, and Michel has been compared to all of them, De La Hoya, a little bit of Michael Nunn, and and you can see all those comparisons, and their styles, and they all watch those guys. Michel's a student of the game. Can't ask him about any fighter that he doesn't know anything about, and that's probably part of his success because he studies it. He watches boxing. He's a historian for the sport, especially in his weight class. So that always helps, and then he picks up things and he watches and he hears and, he does, in my gym, everyone works with everyone. You can see my bantamweight sparring with Lewis, you can see my middleweight sparring with a heavyweight or a light heavyweight. And when I say sparring, they are working, but they're not trying to kill each other. But I don't necessarily not match them together because their styles and the information and what comes out of that work is sometimes priceless. So, always trying to help them better each other. And there's not a single person in the gym that's not with the same train of thought, which is, I want to be the next champion, whatever weight class they're in. And they're all contenders. They're all number one guys. Nobody's, an opponent, let's say. Nothing against opponents, but their mentality can sometimes ruin the bunch, which is just, let me just get the fight, get the next payday, move on to the next. And sometimes that mentality can rub off, and especially, you hear that in boxing, it's just got sparring mentality. That fight looks like it's just a sparring match. well, if the guy is that and that's what he's thinking, it can turn into that. These guys are ballers. They all want to hurt each other. They all want to hurt their opponents. They all want to hurt their sparring partners. They want to be the best. So, that's the mentality I want to keep in my gym, at least, is that killer mentality,
So they've both been with you in Miami for a little under a year. I just want to make sure I'm getting all this correctly.
Yeah, that's correct.
That's great.
Yes,
That is great. Because I feel like the last, 10, maybe more years, we haven't had Dominican fighters that you can believe in. We got Javier Fortuna, but he's a bit of a wilder type style, right? And then you had Joan Guzman, and he had his weight issues. And now we got Jason Rosario, and I'm looking at this kid, and I'm hoping, I'm hoping that he's training here, and you're obviously, confirming that, because I think that's the issue for most Dominican fighters is living in DR and trying to be a professional fighter is just very difficult with the economy. But he's got a great promoter in Samson that's going to get him some opportunities. You are a great trainer for him, so I'm excited for this kid, man. Very happy. Anyone else that you're working with that we haven't gotten the opportunity to see or know about?
I got a great Cuban kid, welterweight, 147 pounds. His name is Levan Navarro, and he's going to be fighting March 7th in New York, and you'll see him. He's going to make his debut on the main stage come March 7th, and he's phenomenal. He's like 11-0 with like 9 knockouts. If you look at his record, he's fought a couple undefeated guys.
How do you spell it?
Navarro.
Oh, Navarro.
Nancy Apple Victor, Navarro, double R. And he's part of the King Kong stable, and they cherry picked him from scratch, debuted him, and they're bringing him up. A little slow, but they're bringing him up, and he's a young kid. He's in his mid-20s, and he's looking to make a big splash, And the comment on your Dominican scenario that you said, you're right on that. I trained almost all the fighters that you mentioned in that little phrase there. Guzman, I trained in the later half of his career, like the last 2 years of his career. And Jason, I trained for about 6-8 months, and then he wanted to go back to the Dominican Republic. He couldn't hack being there. And then there were 2 guys you didn't mention. You have Juan Carlos Payano, who's a bantamweight, and that's maybe why, because it's such a low weight. But he became the
No. I know you had him, and he beat Rashid Warren, he just lost to Inouye.
Next to Guzman. Next to Guzman, I think Payano was the guy that for the Dominican was the guy that was there. Was a super champ. He defended the title with Rashid twice, and then he lost to he beat Chamito for the title, which was definitely no easy feat. And then I had Claudio Marrero, who was at one point the scariest featherweight on the planet, and then he lost after he won the interim title. He lost just screwing up. So at the end of the day, it's tough for Dominicans, the resources, and I think as well as just some of them, when they make it and they think that that's the end, that it gets no better there, and then they start to fall apart. If they head back to their country, and
and
the little money they make here, they can have a 24-hour party over there.
The problem is, I'm Dominican, brother, and I go back often. Yeah. The problem is, the little bit of money that they're making over here is so much over there, and they get so much more fame over there that they can't stay in the lifestyle. Boxing is 7 days a week, 365, and you can't cheat on boxing because it'll tell in the ring, and that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the Dominican with the work ethic of a Floyd, of a Terrence Crawford, of someone that's gonna be in that gym, man. Because I didn't even know you trained Jason. I mean, I need more information. What happened? Why are you guys not working together?
We trained, and I was pushing him hard and working him, and obviously it was given to me like a pet project. And it was in a tough fight with Gallimore, and it wasn't a fight that he should have lost at all. We lost that fight, And he just didn't take it seriously. He didn't take the training seriously. He was, not adapting well to being in, the environment that we had, which was just 24/7 boxing, living in there. He was fighting it. Let me say, he wasn't necessarily speaking out, but he was fighting it. He was pushing back against everything we were doing. So, when you do that and you don't give it your 100, and then you get a guy that's coming, like Nathan was coming that night. That was Nathan's title fight in his head. He was coming to win that fight, and took some of Jason's big early shots, and that was that. And so after that loss, obviously, he went back home and he did some soul searching, and I think that it helped him, because then he came back, and when he came back, he didn't come back here. He came back to another coach with Lewis, who obviously has a similar scenario and in a camp scenario. He embraced it the second time around, and he took advantage of everything that was being offered to him and didn't fight it. And when I say fight it, I mean the meals, and I mean the bedtimes, and and all the little things that you got to do. And he would fight it. He's up till 3 a.m. playing PlayStation or on his phone or talking to somebody from back home instead of sleeping. And you got to wake up at 5 a.m. to go run track, and he does, and he goes and he runs track, but he's running half-assed because he's got 2 hours of sleep. So then that just keeps parlaying to the next training session, which is 1 o'clock, that you gotta perform, and you're not, because you're still beat up from not sleeping, and then you don't eat right, because instead of eating the meals that are being delivered and catered to your specific needs, you're cheating, and you're eating Snickers and Kit Kats and Coca-Colas, and you're just cheating.
Damn,
And
you see what I'm saying? Listen,
things.
I'm just glad you because I tell people all the time, bro, like, I don't bet on Dominicans. I don't trust them. And that sucks, man. That they all have the same mentality in boxing. I'm talking about boxing, you know what I mean? I hope he's changed, man. I hope he's changed, because he looked very good in that fight.
He obviously did.
He obviously
but
listen, Herman, you got to understand. Yes, he changed for the fight, but now he's got this overwhelming success. He's a unified champ. Is he going to remain disciplined now with the money, now with the opportunities and the interviews and the women and the fame? I interviewed him. He's definitely sounds like he's an active Christian. So I'm hoping he's like at least
that never has, he's always been that way.
Yeah, so I'm hoping he doesn't party, because most Christians don't go out partying. So hopefully he's not out in the club with the women, and we can have a guy that could at least reign, right? Like, because think about it. Every other nationality has reigning champs. Like, I think Guzman was our best champ, and he was very disappointing.
Guzman's problem was obviously early on the weight, but then no one really wanted to fight him also, because he was so devastating. He was so amazing. And I've been a big Guzman fan from day one, when he was 122 pounds and on. And a lot of people avoided him in different weight classes. And then, when he moved to the States and he came to New York, I think the issues of what you're saying, are relevant. He just couldn't control the weight, and the lack of being, given real fight dates and fight, it culminated. And when I started working with him, when he signed with Mike Tyson Promotions, and I started working with him for the last 2 years in his career, he was considering retirement, and we brought him back, and I got him into one of the best shapes of his life when he fought Khabib Alakfardiev for the title. We got down to 138 pounds, ripped, solid, beautiful, and unfortunately he broke his tibia, under the knee. The shin bone. He broke his shin bone in that fight, and we lost the fight just because we couldn't continue. But he was a phenomenal. Literally, the greats of the greats admired what he would do in the ring. The Mayweathers and all those great
I admired
fighters,
him too. It was it was the first Dominican that people were calling, what was it, Baby Mike Tyson or Little Mike Tyson? So I admired him too, but he had like Tyson, I think he had like 3 consecutive weight failures with Golden Boy. Like they dropped him. Like no one can trust him.
That's why they dropped him. Right, you couldn't trust them. And that happens with fighters in general, not just Dominicans, but the fighters in general. That does happen. Like what I'm telling you, eating junk food and Coke and Snickers. They that's just a normal thing because most fighters are poor, and that's the easy food. Is the cheap food. And at the end of the day, that's what they know. And you try and give them gourmet cooked food, with vegetables and clean rices and quinoa and stuff like that. Like, what the hell is this shit, And so, they fight it, and then the more intelligent fighters that especially fighters that, are European or even like American fighters, those guys can settle into something like that a lot easier than the Latin American fighters who are used to, the fats and the grease and all the stuff that's not good for you, especially if you're going to be an athlete, So it's culture, right? And I think it has a big play in it. But if you're going to be in this sport, you better learn what's working and what's not working. And pig fat doesn't work versus clean foods.
Definitely.
So,
man, listen, I just want to thank you once again for your time. Very excited for you. It seems like a great time. You got some good prospects in there.
Yes.
And hopefully this rumor with Lewis becomes true, and we can see Lewis in there because, both guys, lost to world champions. So it's a great bounce back fight for the both. And
absolutely.
Where would you like this one to be? Barclays Center, or you think LA is suited better because they're both Latino?
Well, I think LA would be a better venue, especially for the Mexican crowd that would come support Ruiz. I think Lewis has a very broad audience, not just one particular audience. Obviously, he has a Cuban audience, but they don't really show out in big numbers anywhere. But I think he has a big American audience too. I think he's gotten the fans of all those 2 Wilder fights, and I think he's got a lot of the Wilder fans. Obviously, Wilder being their number 1 guy, but if they had to pick a number 2 guy, it's going to be Ortiz, and I think those fans are on board with Lewis. So I think it's for him, any audience, any venue would have an audience. I think for Ruiz, I think it's going to be primarily a Mexican audience, and so that would have to be Vegas or California. That's my interpretation of what I think. It's not what it is. I could be completely wrong, but I do believe that's what it is.
All right, we got 2 more, and those are coming from the people. We got Dominic in Seattle that says, "Hi, this is Mr. PBC. So I would love to see Andy versus Ortiz. The winner takes Dillian White for the mandatory for the WBC. I think both Andy and Ortiz beat Dillian for Deontay's WBC champ." I guess he means the mandatory position. So no question there, seeming like he just wants to let you know he likes the fight. Then we got Mr. Sims that says, "I love the fight between Ruiz and Ortiz. Fan of Ortiz. I know you usually wait to get the call, but have you asked for this fight? If that isn't made, would you call out Dillian White again?"
Did we ask for the Andy Ruiz fight?
Yeah, have you asked for it yet?
Yeah, we've asked for anybody. So anybody includes Andy Ruiz and Dillian White. We've told him whoever is available to fight and wants to fight, our answer is yes. So there's no need to come back to us and say, will you fight this guy? The answer is a broad yes to anyone that is willing and able and available to fight. Then, our answer has always been yes. Will we call out Dillian White? We've never not wanted to fight. It was never, there's never been anything, legitimate. No conversations have been made to make the fight. They know we'll fight Dillian or Joshua. And when I say they, I mean, Matchroom and Eddie. So, it's on them. You can only chase somebody so far, and they don't. For them, I don't think they need Lewis. They got a pretty decent, British following with both those guys, and they can stay over there and just do what they do over there. Not risk coming to the U.S. and losing.
All right. Well, Herman, man, thank you for your time. Obviously, we appreciate it on a Saturday morning, and we can't wait to see what's next with your stable, man. Congratulations on all the success.
Thank you.
All right, brother. Thank you. There you have it,
All the
ladies
best.
and
Thank you.
gentlemen.
Thank you for
World-class
following us.
trainer German Caicedo. Have a great stable and some good fighters. And giving you his opinion on this Andy Ruiz Jr. versus Luis Ortiz fight, since he trains Luis Ortiz. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this one up. We got into all our callers, and I'll be back with some more. We got plenty to discuss. Big day of boxing. See you guys later. Peace.